Okay, what's going on? What's going on? I'm definitely back, and just like I said, today, I got some shit written down on like what I want to talk about today, what I'm trying to push today, and all that good stuff. So, just make sure everybody's doing good, everybody's doing great. Once again, this is very beginning on my channel. This is like going to be kind of like the deep catalogs of like the first videos before everything gets better. I get better at editing, but all that stuff, just pass it. It's gonna be great content all the way down. So what I wanted to talk about today was basically the houses and stuff like that in astrology. And just to let you guys know, I've done charts on people. I have multiple people. I've been researching astrology maybe for like, I don't know, like 10 years now. Didn't really get serious with it till like the last past 3 or 4 years, but I always had a natural inclination toward astrology. So I think I'm not like the master astrologer or anything, but I think I have enough experience to talk on this. So what I want to talk about is the first house, and specifically because I run into a lot of people. Let's talk about Pluto in the first house and like different planets in the first house, besides your chart. Because believe it or not, I mean, you have a person that's Sun Sagittarius, but they may have like Pluto first house, and I see them as like a Pluto first house person almost as much as I see them as a Sun Sagittarius. Because like that's how much these planets really, dictate how you act and stuff. Not how you act, but your personalities, your qualities, your traits, and all that good stuff. Like a Mars first house person is going to have a lot of Aries traits. They're going to be fiery. They're going to be all about like self-expression, all that good stuff. So I want to talk more about Pluto because it's more mysterious. If you know Pluto's ruler, well, Scorpio, Pluto, they're all connected, like the deep underworld. I've interacted with these type of people. Very mysterious, very I wouldn't say eccentric, but definitely they stand out from the group. Can they be trusted? That's another thing too. I think a Pluto first house person, yes, they can be trusted, but at the same time, you don't want to cross them, and you're always gonna have like your suspicions about that particular person. So, for instance, me, I have Neptune, Uranus. Um, wow, I just had a brain fart. Venus and Saturn in the first house. So what happens when you have multiple planets in the first house? It's like, oh my God, like I have Pluto, Mars, this and this and that. So how I like to look at it is, kind of looking at the planets and seeing how those energies will merge together. Because when you think Neptune, you think of like the mystic, the chameleon. Uranus is just wild, erratic energy. Saturn is just controlling energy. And Venus just wants to be beautiful and loved and all that good stuff. And you just kind of use like your own senses for how these energies, interact with each other. But you get that basic from knowing like what the planets represent, what elements they represent, all that good stuff. As for instance, Mars is clearly, fire, stuff like that. Mercury, air, Gemini, all that good stuff. So once you get like a good basis of that, you can kind of be like, okay, hey, I have Pluto first house. I have Pluto and Mars. So that's probably going to be a very erratic person, very secretive person who acts on impulse, a very transformative person. That's another thing I do want to say about Pluto first house. They can transform you and they can transform themselves in a split second. So that's really cool stuff. So another thing I do want to talk about, Pluto first house, card of the day, because tarot. So actually, it's so funny because my card of the day, I told you guys about, I don't actually own a deck. I've been looking for a deck online, but I truly do want to be gifted one before I get one. It's very tempting. So when I do tarot readings on people, it's typically I'm using their decks, and I have more information than them. It's really weird. So King of Swords was the card of the day. When you think King of Swords, it's a court card. It's definitely sword is air energy. So anything dealing with Gemini, I always get them mixed up. Aquarius. Come on, Gemini, Aquarius. What are the other air signs? Okay, you know what I mean. So essentially, when you think of the King of Swords, he's a very intellectual person, upright. He's a scientist, a political worker. He wants to do good for the community. Any like air trait qualities is a king of swords. But when you reverse it, that's another thing I do want to talk about too. Learn your reversals. Do not neglect the reversals, because then you're going to be lost. You're going to be lost. You have to have some sort of thing, with your reversals. So you take the king of swords and you reverse it. It's a very smart person, but I mean, this person is going to stab you in his back. This person is plotting to get you. This person is someone you want to stay far away from. They will kill you with intellect. So that's another thing I was saying about the tarot cards. And if you're really serious about the tarot cards, you should know swords relate to air, wands relate to fire, pentacles relate to earth, and cups relate to water. That's really, really easy way to, really catch the grasp of, tarot and, doing interpretations and stuff. So, just keep in mind, the King of Swords, very airy, Gemini-like qualities, Aquarius-type qualities, smart, intellectual, humanitarian, you know, and they just want to do great service. But then, when it's flipped, because there's also good and bad to everything, there's a yin, yang, all that good stuff. It becomes a very sarcastic, sadistic person that you want to stay far away from. So I did talk about that. Card of the day. I'm actually traveling to Texas tomorrow to see some family. I'm in South Carolina right now, and it's crazy times, and I just put family above all this crazy fucking nonsense that's going on in the world right now. And I think that's more important, and that you really should ground yourself. What are your values during these crazy times, and don't let the outside shit affect you. You still know about the outside shit. Don't completely turn a blind eye to the outside shit. But, what's your real values during this time? And for me, it's family. I want to, go see some family in Texas. Okay. And there is one thing. I think this is kind of going to lead to my next video, tomorrow when I get to it. I know you guys can tell my thoughts are just so much better. I was really nervous about that first video last night. So, the witchy trend, and what I mean by the witchy trend and stuff like that. Now kind of talk more, because it's popular, because you have a whole bunch of YouTubers now coming out of the broom closet, oh, it's cool, it's accepted now, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's cool to be like, oh, I, worship these deities, I work with these people, I do this type of spirituality, I am a witch, there's all these different types of witch and stuff, and it's a big time trend right now. It's really, really, really popular, and that's kind of a thing. We're moving from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius, the water bearer. So a lot of people are coming out and with like, hey, I practice this and this, I work with this and that, I have this type of spirituality. I'm all behind it. I think it's pretty cool. But just keep in mind, everything, it is a trend. So people are going to come out just to capitalize on the trend. You're going to have some really, really good people, that are genuine about the practices and how they do this. And I mean, I think that's awesome that they take the time out to share with us, who want to learn more about oh, what's an eclectic witch? What's a hereditary witch? All that cool stuff. How do you do this type of magic? What's hoodoo? What's voodoo? All this information is just coming out, especially spiritual wise. So I think that's really, really, really cool. And I think that's kind of where we can leave it. I'll probably title the video first house planet, stuff like that. I know my titles are gonna be crazy for a little while until I can get this channel organized, but I'm definitely getting it off the floor. All right, you guys have a good one. Hasta la vista.